Hi dear friends, welcome to EduHub online learning platform. Today I am going to discuss you with the topic respiration. In the last class we have discussed nutrition and its type, nutrition plants, nutrition animals, etc. Where we studied all living organisms need food for getting energy. In this chapter, how this food release energy, that is going to be discussed. All of you know all living organisms need energy to carry out different process. This energy is obtained by consuming food. Respiration is defined as the breaking down of food molecule to release energy. It takes place inside the cell. There is a specialized cellular organelle called mitochondria. Respiration is a process of breaking down of food molecule to release energy. It takes place inside the cell. It is a chemical process. Here, energy is released in the form of ATP. The breaking down of food molecule release energy. That energy used to form ATP. ATP on hydrolysis, see here, ATP on hydrolysis release ADP and energy. ATP undergo hydrolysis and form ADP and energy. Energy from respiration is used to convert ADP into ATP. Listen. So it is a simple diagram showing what is cellular respiration. Light energy is captured by green plants to form glucose. Glucose is stored in the form of starch. When we consume food, the starch is changed into glucose. This glucose enters the cell. Inside the cell, glucose undergo breaking down or oxidation or burning out to release carbon dioxide and water in the presence of oxygen. See this diagram. Light energy is captured by chlorophyll, chloroplast containing chlorophyll. By photosynthesis to form glucose. This glucose enters the cell. From the cell, it undergo respiration or breaking down and release carbon dioxide and water. Okay. All living organisms need energy. This energy is obtained from plants by consuming food. This food undergo digestion and form glucose. That glucose reaches the cell. Inside the cell, there is a specialized organelle called mitochondria. It is the powerhouse of the cell. From there, the food molecule breaking down and release energy. Energy is released in the form of ATP, adenosine triphosphate, or chemical energy is formed. Okay. So what is respiration? Tell me. It is the process of breaking down of food molecule to release energy. It takes place inside the cell. Energy is released in the form of ATP. Okay? Okay. There are two types of respiration. In some respiration, the breaking down of molecule to release energy need oxygen. When oxygen is needed for respiration, such respiration is called aerobic respiration. In our cell, the glucose undergo oxidation and release energy by using oxygen. That's why it is called aerobic respiration. Breaking down of food molecule to release energy without using oxygen. There is no need of oxygen. If there is no need of oxygen, such a respiration is called anaerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration, anaerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration need oxygen. anaerobic respiration does not need oxygen. Okay. Let us see some examples. Here, see this is a cell. Inside a cell, glucose undergo oxidation in the presence of oxygen and release carbon dioxide, water and ATP. This process is called respiration. It's called respiration. This is a process of breaking down of food molecule. Here we utilize oxygen, therefore this respiration is called aerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration. Glucose, carbon dioxide, water, ATP. Okay. Then suppose we are doing continuous exercise or running fast or going up and down in a staircase. We felt tiredness or fatigue. Why this happened? Here, due to continuous exercise, our cell lack oxygen. If there is no oxygen in the cell, the muscle cell undergo anaerobic respiration. Here, glucose converted into pyruvic acid. This pyruvic acid then converted into carbon dioxide and water to release energy normally. But here, this pyruvic acid change into lactic acid in the absence of oxygen. If there is, in the absence of oxygen, such a respiration is called anaerobic respiration. If there is no oxygen, the muscle cell undergo anaerobic respiration and release lactic acid. This lactic acid cause muscle fatigue. Muscle fatigue. Muscle fatigue is caused by lactic acid. How this lactic acid is produced? Is it aerobic or anaerobic? It is produced by aerobic respiration, anaerobic respiration. Anaerobic. Why it is anaerobic? Because non-availability of oxygen. Okay. Such a respiration is called anaerobic. When oxygen is needed, such a respiration is called aerobic. Okay. Then next example is, see, this is a structure of a yeast. Yeast undergo anaerobic respiration in the absence of oxygen. Here glucose is changed into ethyl alcohol, ethanol and carbon dioxide, and also it produces energy. But this is an example. It is otherwise called fermentation. It's called fermentation. Yeast convert glucose into ethyl alcohol and carbon dioxide. For example, if you want to produce wine, wine, how this wine is produced? By using grape juice. We add some yeast in grape juice and keep it in anaerobic condition. At that condition, this yeast cell utilize glucose from grape juice and convert this glucose into alcohol. That alcohol is called wine. After a few days, we get wine. But from grape juice, we obtain wine. Here the respiration is, the type of respiration is anaerobic. There are some parasites in our intestine. Ascaris, then Taenia solium, tapeworm, like that. All endoparasites show anaerobic respiration. Parasite shows anaerobic respiration. Why they show anaerobic respiration? Because there is no oxygen. Okay. Then we have to move to, there are two types of respiration, aerobic and anaerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration is shown by all cells. In the absence of oxygen, some cells show anaerobic respiration. For example, muscle cells show anaerobic respiration and release lactic acid, which cause muscle fatigue. Okay. Then yeast produce ethyl alcohol and carbon dioxide from ATP in the absence of oxygen. That's called fermentation. Okay. Then this is a diagram showing breakdown of glucose by various pathways. For example, glucose in this cell converted into pyruvic acid and release energy from the cytoplasm. Here glucose in the presence of oxygen converted pyruvic acid. This pyruvic acid from mitochondria form carbon dioxide and water aerobically and release energy. Suppose if there is no oxygen, as in muscle cells, this pyruvic acid in the absence of oxygen become lactic acid. Lactic acid cause muscle fatigue. In yeast, absence of oxygen in yeast, produce ethyl alcohol carbon dioxide energy. Here in first case aerobic, then all other cases anaerobic. So aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. This chart is very important for examination, very much clear. That is in the cytoplasm. Suppose we take food, that food is circulated by blood to all cells. From the cell cytoplasm, this glucose changed into pyruvic acid. That pyruvic acid enter the mitochondria and release carbon dioxide and water plus ATP. But in the absence of oxygen, this pyruvic acid become lactic acid in muscle cells. There is a bacteria called lactic acid bacteria. In lactic acid bacteria also, the glucose is changed into pyruvic acid. Pyruvic acid then changed into lactic acid when in the absence of oxygen. Okay, this is about types of respiration. Let us move to human respiratory system. All of you know human being respire through a specialized organ called lungs and its associated structures. We breathe through our nose. This nose is having nostrils. Nostril leads to, see the nasal cavity here, second nasal cavity. Nostril leads to nasal cavity. Nasal cavity leads to nasopharynx. On the floor of pharynx, there is an opening. That opening is called glottis. Through with that opening, air enters the trachea or larynx. Anterior part of trachea is called larynx. Larynx is the voice producing organ. First point, it starts from nostril. Nostril leads to nasal cavity. Nasal cavity leads to nasopharynx. Pharynx leads to larynx. Larynx leads to trachea. This trachea divides into two bronchus. Bronchus divides into many bronchioles. Bronchioles ends in a sac-like structure called alveoli. See this. This is the structure of lungs. This is larynx. This is trachea. This is bronchus. This is bronchioles. Air enters through nostril to nasal cavity pharynx, then it is here it is larynx into trachea divides into bronchus divides into bronchioles. These bronchioles finally enter into small structure, for gas section. Here it is a bunch of grape, seemingly a bunch of grape. This structure is called alveoli. The gas section takes place from alveoli. All bronchioles ends in sac-like structures called alveoli. These are alveoli. Next diagram, it is very clear. See, this is bronchiole ends in structures called sac-like structures called alveoli. Alveoli, the membrane of alveoli is very thin, permeable, moist and vascular. Alveolar membrane is thin, permeable, moist and vascular. Therefore, the gas exchange takes place between blood and alveoli or lungs through alveoli. But alveoli is the gas exchanging surface. Okay. But again, structure: nasal cavity, nasopharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchus, bronchioles, alveoli. See the larynx here. Larynx is the voice producing organ of man, sound producing organ of man, because larynx contain vocal cords. Vibration of vocal cords produce sound. Okay. Larynx, which is the voice producing organ of man? Voice producing organ of man is larynx. Larynx is the voice producing organ of man. Then the structural and functional unit of our respiratory system is alveoli, alveoli, alveolus. Then many alveoli join to form two spongy lungs. Lungs is covered and protected by pleura. A covering of lung is called, here is a covering. This covering of lung is called pleura, pleura, pleura. Okay. Again, once again, see, this is structure of human respiratory system. The respiratory system consists of lungs and respiratory tract. These are lungs. Lung number one, lung, right lung and left lung. The respiratory tract starts from nostril. Nostril leads to nasal cavity. Nasal cavity leads to nasopharynx. Nasopharynx leads to larynx. The opening of larynx is called glottis. It has a covering called epiglottis, which prevent the entry of food particle. Okay. Then trachea formed from larynx divides into two bronchus. Bronchus enters the cell, divides and enters the lungs, divides and redivides to form large number of bronchioles. Bronchioles ends in sac-like structures called alveoli. Alveoli is thin, permeable, moist, vascular for easy exchange of gas. The function of alveoli is gas exchange. Okay. Then below the lungs, see here, this muscle is called diaphragm, 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 diaphragm. Then lungs is covered in ribs, rib cage. See here, the rib cage. In between rib cage, rib bone, there is a muscle called intercostal muscle. Which muscle? Intercostal muscle. So it enclosed in a rib cage. Two lungs are enclosed in rib cage. Rib cage is provided with intercostal muscles. Intercostal muscles. Intercostal muscles. Rib cage is provided with intercostal muscles. Okay. On the floor of the lungs or below the thorax or the floor of thorax, there is a diaphragm. Diaphragm. Okay. Then two structure very important for breathing, that is intercostal muscle and diaphragm. Okay. Now I am explaining the mechanism of breathing. Breathing is a process of intake of oxygen rich air and releasing out of carbon dioxide rich air. Intake of oxygen rich air and releasing out of carbon dioxide rich air is known as breathing. Okay. Then it involves two processes, namely expiration and inspiration. Inspiration is intake, expiration is releasing out. During inspiration, we take oxygen rich air. During expiration, we release carbon dioxide rich air. See this an experiment showing the mechanism of breathing. In the second case here, a bottle is a white tube is connected with two balloon. Then the bottom of the bottle is removed. Here we used balloon as a diaphragm. When we keep the diaphragm down, the volume of the bottle increases. When volume increases, pressure decreases. Then pressure is decreased, air from outside rush into the tube and balloon become inflated. When I release the balloon its normal position, what happened? The volume of bottle decreases. When volume decreases, pressure increase. When pressure increase, air move outside. This is called expiration. Similar mechanism happens in human body. See here, the breathing in and breathing out. During breathing in, diaphragm move downwards. Intercostal muscle contract. When intercostal muscle contract, diaphragm move downwards. Both diaphragm contract, intercostal muscle contract. the volume of thoracic cavity increases. The volume of thoracic cavity increases. When volume increase, pressure decrease. When pressure decrease, air rushes to the lungs. During expiration, the diaphragm relax. Intercostal muscle also relax. Then the pressure increases, volume decreases. Volume of thoracic cavity decreases, pressure increases, air rushes outside. This is called expiration. Breathing involves inspiration and expiration. The detailed mechanism we will study in the next year. Okay. This is the mechanism of breathing. So what is respiration? What is breathing? Can you differentiate between breathing and respiration? Respiration is the process of breaking down a food molecule to release energy. It takes place inside the cell. But breathing is the process of intake of oxygen rich air, releasing out of carbon dioxide rich air. It is a physical process which takes place outside the cell. There is no production of energy in breathing, but during respiration, energy is produced. Okay, I hope you understand. Now let us revise the chapter once again. For respiration is the process of breaking down of food molecule to release energy. Energy is released in the form of ATP. Then cellular respiration takes place from mitochondria, release carbon dioxide, water and energy. Then two types of respiration, aerobic and anaerobic respiration. In aerobic respiration, oxygen is used. In anaerobic respiration, there is no need of oxygen. Then this normal aerobic respiration, here glucose change into carbon dioxide, water and energy in the presence of oxygen. Then in muscle cell, in the absence of oxygen, this pyruvic acid changed into lactic acid, which causes muscle fatigue. Then in yeast, glucose changed into ethyl alcohol, carbon dioxide and ATP. This again, this is mitochondria aerobic, lactic acid anaerobic, ethanol anaerobic. This is the structure of human respiratory system. Human respiratory system has two parts, namely respiratory tract and lungs. Respiratory tract start from nostril, leads to nasal cavity, nasopharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi, bronchus, alveoli. Then lungs, spongy and elastic structure covered by pleural membrane. Lungs are situated in the rib cage. Below the rib cage, you can see diaphragm. In between ribs, you can see intercostal muscle. Okay. Nasal cavity. Then larynx is the sound producing organ of man. Larynx. Then there is a structure called glottis through which air enters the larynx. This glottis is covered by a lid-like structure called epiglottis. Epiglottis prevent the entry of food molecule. The covering of lung is called pleura. This is larynx, trachea, bronchus, bronchioles, alveoli, lungs, diaphragm. Nasal cavity, pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchus, bronchioles, pleura, lungs, diaphragm. This is alveoli, from where gas exchange takes place. Alveoli is thin, permeable, moist and vascular. This is the alveolar sac. Then this is an experiment showing the mechanism of breathing. In first case expiration, second case inspiration. During expiration, the thoracic cavity volume decreases, pressure increases. But in inspiration, the thoracic cavity volume increases, pressure decreases. This is the breathing in and out mechanism. Chest expand. During breathing in, chest expand. Breathing out, chest contracts. Diaphragm contracts. Thoracic cavity volume increases. Diaphragm relaxes. Intercostal muscle also, chest contracts. Then intercostal muscle relax, chest contract, air move outside. This is called expiration. Okay, I hope all of you know. understand my class, then I will see you in the next class. See you, bye, take care.